Live from historic Dunn Field, it's once again time for Elmira Pioneers baseball this evening as your Pios return home for a brief two-game homestand. Tonight, they'll take on the Geneva Red Wings. Good evening, everybody, for Pioneers Pregame Live. I'm Farrell Hudson. We'll have all your live coverage tonight, both pregame and game coverage, as your Elmira Pioneers facing off against the Geneva Red Wings once again. Elmira's had a very positive go-round so far through 6 ball games with Geneva on the season. They're manning Dunn Field incredibly well. 3-1, but more to the point of emphasis, 2-0 on the road, and part of that second victory, shall I say, came on the road this past Sunday at Geneva, and the Pioneers were desperately in need of a victory following Saturday night's home defeat to the Newark Pilots, a ball game in which was certainly in reach for the Pioneers, as we'll travel back to begin with Saturday night's contest. It was certainly a game that you felt like the Pioneers could have grasped. They were down, unfortunately, 4-0 in the bottom of the third, 6-1 in the top of the fifth, but Elmira got 2 runs in the home half of the fifth, 2 walks and a sac fly off the bat of Brendan Hammer, also a pass ball allowing a run to score. That brought Elmira within proximity, a scoreless 6th inning, nicely done by Casey Jolkowski, and that's really the point of emphasis. He was the anchor for this Pioneers team on Saturday night. Casey Jolkowski going 4 2/3 innings of work, only allowing 2 hits, no runs, no earned, with no walks and 3 strikeouts. And you look at Jolkowski's collective outings across the summer, second on the Elmira Pioneers in ERA with a 2.02 ERA coming into tonight's ball game across 8 appearances. All have been in relief, and he holds the best win-loss record of any Elmira Pioneer at 2-0. He's also locked down a save across 13 1/3 innings of work. He's allowed under 13 hits, so under a hit per inning, 12 hits, 5 runs, 3 earned, 4 walks, and 7 strikeouts. So you couldn't necessarily call him a strikeout pitcher, but from a bit of an unconventional 3/4 arm slot, Jolkowski finding real success this year, pitching to an opposing batting average of .235, and you're not being given necessarily the smallest sample size. The 13 1/3 innings of work are most by a Pioneers reliever. That's how fantastic he's been. You want to talk about another reliever, too, that's made his impact be felt recently. That's Andrew Roxby, who holds the lowest Pioneers ERA across any Elmira Pioneer who has gone 8 innings or more on the season. 8 2/3 innings of work for Andrew Roxby. Only 6 hits, 4 runs, 1 earned, 3 walks, and 8 strikeouts, 30-plus at-bats against, in a 194 collective batting average against. Roxby was the catalyst in locking down the ball game on Friday at Newark, as Roxby went 3 1/3 innings of work, giving up only 3 hits, 1 run on 1 earned, with no walks and 4 strikeouts. So it's not always about the put-away pitch as much as it is just pitching to contact, and that's a point of emphasis that Andy Drums kept referring to both on his pregame reports with me, as he says that we're just looking for guys right now to get outs. It doesn't matter what the situation is. It doesn't matter how comfortable or uncomfortable the time is. We just need guys to lock down the ball game. Makes a lot of sense. You need arms to get you through the rest of the summer. Pioneers are holding up nicely. Granted, they've had a couple off days in the mix. They had one yesterday. They'll have one on Thursday. But for now, 2 home games, and you become well acclimated with these teams. You had the Newark Pilots for 3 games, a doubleheader at Colburn Park last Friday, a home game on Saturday, and then the Geneva Red Wings. You traveled to them for what was already their 6th meeting of the season with Geneva this past Sunday. Pioneers taking home a 12-2 victory, and then they come home tonight for their 7th matchup of the season with Geneva. They'll have only 2 more with the Red Wings after this, both coming on the road at John Saloni Field at McDonough Park. And now let's turn it over to Sunday's game, because there's a lot to talk about for the Pioneers and a lot that Elmira did incredibly well. Let's start with the top of the first inning. Aiden Grabowski doing Aiden Grabowski things. Leads off the ball game with a double, followed by a walk from Ty Martineau. Then TJ Grimesti gets plunked because, of course, TJ Grimesti, by the way, when he's not hitting for power, average speed, all the great things that he does, he finds ways to get on base. I mean, he can work pitch counts with the best of them, and he's also gotten plunked a fair amount of times this year, as we refer to on the broadcast quite frequently. Not the most fun way to get on base, but you'll take it at any cost to salvage away a victory, and this is certainly a game Elmira needed. They were 4-8 across 12 ball games coming into their 13th road game of the season, and like we have referred to in the past for the Pioneers, they're going to need to be road warriors the rest of the regular season. Tonight's already home game number 15 in 29 ball games, so that means that about you're looking at 9 of the final 17 games will be on the road this season. But back to more importance on Sunday's ball game. Grabowski and Hicken get on, then Grimesti with the bases loaded, and Brandon Dubek comes up, and he deposits an RBI single. He comes around to score because why not? Brandon Dubek has been a notable Geneva killer this season. But the real part of the end of the inning, the most exciting part, was Vincent Favada, Pioneers left fielder, who shot a 2-run triple in the right center field gap. Pioneers with 4 triples in Sunday's ball game. That is the most extra base hits the Elmira Pioneers have hit in a single game this season. I mean, 4 triples. Really good job by them. 9 guys come to the plate in that top of the first inning for Elmira as they give Bobby Boying quite a comfortable advantage, but Boying didn't take too much advantage of it, meaning he went right to work. Besides a leadoff double down the right field line in the bottom of the first inning from Zach Banks and a walk to Chase Fogg, there were quickly 2 runners on with nobody out. It's Bobby Boying's ability to pitch to contact. As you'll hear from Andy Drum coming up in our manager's report, he said that Boying is one of those guys where he finds ways to get outs. He's truly a pitcher, and that's something that I don't think can be taken too lightly. There's all these pitchers on a pitching staff. You know how critical pitching is to the vitality of a team across the summer. But for Bobby Boying, it's been consistently his rubber arm on the mound. He's dealt the most innings for a Pioneers starting pitcher this summer with 22 1/3. He's allowed 25 hits. The walks, you could argue, are a tad inflated at 13, 9 strikeouts, and he's pitched to an opposing batting average right around the 300 mark. But when all is said and done for Boying, that's now 2 straight ball games in which he's turned in incredibly formidable outings. Now back to equilibrium in terms of the record, a 2-2 record with a sub-4 ERA. Boying really doing his job of keeping hitters off balance. So the Pioneers get through the bottom of the first inning. The score 5-0. Geneva does touch up Bobby Boying briefly in the bottom of the second inning. A 2-run double that came off the bat of the extra hitter Sam Fleming, but that was about it for Geneva. After that, Bobby Boying went to work, faced only 13 of his next 18 batters. 17 of them were retired across 4+ innings of work. He was phenomenal. You look at the final line in the ball game from Boying: 8 innings of work, 6 hits, 2 runs on 2 earned, while only walking 2 and striking out 5. Those 5 strikeouts were a season high for the Elmira Pioneers right-hander. Michael Cobb came in relief for the bottom of the 9th inning, and he fared incredibly well too, besides a base hit off the bat of Aiken Santana, who has hit very nicely against the Pioneers this year. You see the Geneva infielder who has played well for the most part. 346 batting average across 23 games. He's gotten 21 starts. He's split them about equally between the third and first base position. A on-base percentage of 404 and an OPS north of 750. A very formidable fielding percentage turned in by Santana as well. Santana had the best offensive ball game of any Geneva Red Wing against the Pioneers on Sunday, as Santana went 3 for 4, and as usual, he'll be back in the lineup tonight. He'll be in the cleanup spot against the Elmira Pioneers. Aiken Santana, 27 hits on the season, only 1 extra base hit, but he's turned in plenty of meaningful contributions for this Red Wings squad. 14 RBIs. He's second on the Geneva Red Wings in that category, only trailing Zach Banks, and you know the kind of power that Zach Banks can provide. You saw 2 hits from Banks on Sunday in the ball game, a double in the bottom of the first, a single in the bottom of the 8th inning for Banks. A 349 batting average, and his OPS has been skyrocketing on the season. A 955 OPS, a absolutely perfect fielding percentage. He leads the Geneva Red Wings in stolen bases with 13. For Zach Banks, 29 hits, 7 extra base hits, a homer, and 17 RBIs. So while the Red Wings might not be towards the top of the division standings leaderboard, they are still making their impact felt with the 2 presences of both Aiken Santana and Zach Banks. But back to the bottom of the 9th inning on Sunday, Pioneers were able to close out a 12-2 victory, and it was the Pioneers stepping on the throats late in the ball game once again. That was something that pleased the Andy Drum and the entire Pioneers managerial staff. In the top of the 7th inning, they already scored a run, and then in the top of the 9th inning, they brought in 4 more runs. One of the reasons why, how about substitutes coming into the ball game? Tanner Carranza, who pinch hit in Saturday night's 6-5 home defeat to the Newark Pilots. Carranza was optioned into the ballgame, if you remember, because the Pioneers were put in a sticky situation after Michael Palmer got thrown out of the ballgame in the bottom of the 6th inning. They had to do some shuffling. You saw Brooks Hicken get some time in the top of the 7th inning at first base. You also saw Cooper Smith play in the 8th and 9th innings, so you had to option in Tanner Carranza, who's only appeared in about 4 or 5 ball games this season. Carranza grounded out, but he made good of his appearance on Sunday. A single to lead off the top of the ninth inning, followed by Manuel Esley, who only appeared in 3 ball games prior to Sunday's at-bat versus the Red Wings. He singled, so back-to-back singles set the Pioneers up. Michael Palmer, unfortunately, couldn't get the job done, but that was no worry for the Pioneers. They were already ahead in the ball game 8-2. This was just gravy at this point we're talking about. Palmer turning in a really nice game after he got thrown out on Saturday. Went 1 for 4, but had meaningful at-bats in 40% of them. An RBI double in the top of the 3rd inning, followed by a walk in the top of the 7th. Palmer didn't come around to score, but continues to contribute with the bat. A lot of extra base hits for him, a homer on the season. We know that. Brett Baker, he continues to amaze in an Elmira Pioneers uniform. Baker so far towards the top of the charts, actually the top of the chart through 4 games played. Granted, a small sample size. Baker's gotten 4 starts, all at the center field position. A .643 slug percentage right now, a triple. That triple came in the top of the 9th inning for the Pioneers to highlight what was their 4th triple of the day. And guess what? They were a homer away from a literal back-to-back cycle. What I mean by that, John Simmons after the Baker triple in the top of the 9th, an RBI double. Vincent Favada added on with his 3rd RBI of the day, what was his 2nd hit, so a 2-for-5 day from Vinny Favada, and then Manganiello flew out to conclude the top of the 9th inning, a 1-for-5 day for Manganiello, but Anthony Manganiello's been as consistent as any guy has been on the Pioneers, especially with his defense. Manganiello almost kind of having a little bit of some unlucky at-bats. Every time he gets to the plate, puts a lot of hard contact on. He strikes out very rarely. You saw Manganiello in the top of the 4th inning in Friday's game, drove one almost to the warning track, only to be caught by Elijah Benton. A 1-for-5 day from him. Still adds on with a single to lead off the top of the 8th inning, and he's caught the last 2 ball games from Bobby Boying. Bobby Boying only giving up 2 earned runs across the last 13 innings of action. That rubber arm out of Barry University has been absolute money so far for the Pioneers. So overall, a really good day to get back on track on Sunday against Geneva. And to find out more about his thoughts on the Sunday game and on tonight's ball game, we turn it over to the Clubhouse Report with the manager of your Elmira Pioneers. Earlier today, I got to catch up with Andy Drum.
I'm pleased to be joined on Pioneers Pregame Live, as always, by the manager of your Elmira Pioneers, and Andy Drum, ahead of tonight's contest versus the Geneva Red Wings. Coach, getting started, just your overall thoughts on the 12-2 victory in Geneva on Sunday.
I thought it was one of the more clean games we played all summer. We hit the ball well, we ran well, we pitched well, played good defense, so I thought all around we played really good baseball.
You mentioned prior to Saturday night's ball game how frustrated you were with hitting with runners in scoring position. A couple of those same themes occurred on Saturday, but not on Sunday. What was the difference?
I think we were just more aggressive early in the count. I think a lot of times, especially with runners in scoring position, we work into a tough count, 0-2, 1-2, where we feel like, we got to protect the plate now, especially with how bad these umpires have been. I mean, we saw the guy on Sunday punch out 3 or 4 guys on balls that bounce. So, yeah, I think we just got to be a little bit more aggressive early in counts and try and put barrel on ball.
Do you think it's a lot easier when you're going up against a fastball-heavy pitcher like you did Malachi Morgan on Geneva's end on Sunday?
Yeah, we hit the fastball really well. I know a lot of slower velo stuff we've struggled with. A couple of pitchers from Newark that throw like 78 we struggle with. But anything fastball-wise, we tend to jump all over it.
What are the benefits and challenges of facing a pitcher who's maybe wild like Malachi Morgan was on Sunday in terms of then you don't know when he's going to throw strikes? Does that really change the hitting approach or not?
It can. I mean, we have a lot of guys that don't chase pitches out of the zone. Brandon Dubeck being one of them, Carl Wagner. So we have some guys that have a really good eye for the zone, and I think that's where some of these umpires frustrate our hitters. We saw it with Michael Palmer on, Saturday night? So, I mean, we got to expand with 2 strikes because you never know what these umpires are going to call, but we do a good job of not chasing really bad pitches either.
You mentioned Michael Palmer, and he did get thrown out of that game on Saturday night, but how much did that make for almost a blessing in disguise to see different guys inserted into the lineup from the 7th or 9th inning?
So I'm actually proud of Michael getting tossed. He needed to defend himself there. Kind of unfortunate because he would have been the guy up with the bases loaded there in the 9th inning, but we got some other guys in there. I saw some good things out of those guys. I think Brooks had a walk. Carranza had a good at-bat there in the 9th inning too, hit that ball hard just right at the shortstop. So, yeah, I'm actually proud of Michael for standing up for himself. Not that I ever want to see someone get tossed, but he needed to defend himself in that situation.
And do you think short-term memory is such a beneficiary with Mike? I mean, he turns around 2-run double on Sunday. What did you like from him in Sunday's game?
I've liked Michael's approach all summer. You know, he seems to put barrel on ball. Even if it's a ground ball, he tends to barrel it up, hit hard. He's had a really good approach all summer, and he's coming really clutch for us in some big situations.
You mentioned in the process there Brandon Dubeck. How strong has he been at the plate besides just his eye? What are some of his other traits that makes for such a complete hitter?
Doobie's been great. I know he gets frustrated getting walked all the time, but he also has like a .550 on-base percentage at this point. So from a coaching standpoint, if you're getting on base and scoring runs, you're doing the job that I want. I know he'd like to get some more balls in the zone where he gets swing, but him getting on base 55% of the time is pretty good.
Going back to Sunday's game, a second consecutive strong outing for Bobby Boying. What was working so well for him?
Bobby has a really good understanding of how to pitch. Keeps hitters off balance. A lot of times in the dugout, we'll be discussing like what pitch he should throw next, and he tends to throw that pitch. Mixes up his heights, he'll be up and down, mixes in his off-speed stuff really well, gets a lot of weak contact as well. So Bobby's been a dog for us all summer.
From a physical or mental perspective, how much of a mentor does he play for the rest of the pitching staff?
Bobby's been great. He's good personality. He's always talking to guys. So especially the younger guys, hopefully they're taking in what they can from him and his experience. I know he threw a good amount at Barry this year. I think he has the most innings for us this year. So hopefully some of these guys are really sitting down and talking to him and learning how to pitch a little bit.
Speaking of a second consecutive outing, a really strong one to close out the ball game for Michael Cobb on Sunday. What did you like from Mike?
Mike's looked really good his last two outings. I think the last one was in Auburn. He's coming out throwing strikes early. And I feel like if you get ahead in the count, especially in a wood bat league, college wood bat league, the hitters are going to make mistakes. So Mike has looked really good his last two outings, and hopefully he continues through the rest of the summer.
Tonight, you turned the baseball over to the southpaw Ty Hodella, making his second start, first home start as an Elmira Pioneer. What did you like that you saw the first time from Ty, but how can he fix some of the rough going that he had at Niagara?
So I think he caught a little bit too much of the plate there. I know we misplayed some balls. We had the one bounce over Cooper in right field. We had another one in left that I thought should have been ran down, a little tougher of a route to get to. I like that he gets ahead early, but maybe not catch as much of the plate, try and hit the corners a little bit more.
How important was it to bring in a guy like Hodella mid-season that can especially mentor lefties in the bullpen? We mentioned Michael Cobb, maybe a younger guy like Andrew Jones as well.
Yeah, anytime we get guys here that have experience playing at the college level and other summer leagues, I always hope that the young guys really gravitate to them and try to pick up as much as they can. Experience is such a big thing, especially a guy like Jonesy. Couldn't think of his name there for a second. But a guy like Jonesy, he's young. I think he's 17 years old. So he has the talent. It's just kind of learning the mental approach to playing at this level.
And you spoke about mental approach. How important is that now in the final 2 weeks? You see on the big board outside, counting down games to playoffs, a couple games in hand that you guys have on both Newark and Jamestown. How important is it to be mentally sane at this time of year?
Oh, it's very important. Every game matters at this point, especially trying to get into the playoffs and then hopefully playing for seeding position in the playoffs too. So yeah, we just got to keep playing smart baseball, not make mistakes, and not beat ourselves every night.
One last question. TJ Grimesti was named to the West Division All-Star team today. What's one word that you would use to describe TJ Grimesti's play and character both on and off the baseball diamond?
TJ's just an absolute dog. Kid's dirty all the time, steals bases, runs well, plays good defense, cannon for an arm, and obviously great approach to the plate. Everything he hits is barreled up and hit hard. So TJ very deserving of that all-star spot, and I thought we should have had another couple more guys on there, but like I said, TJ is very deserving of that spot.
Awesome, Coach. Thanks for your time.
So there it is. Coach Andy Drum on the pregame report today as your Pioneers get set to take on the Geneva Red Wings. Coach Drum always so great with his time and explanations. Good breakdown of this Pioneers squad who hasn't been perfect all season long, but stringing together some nice ball games to stay in the race in the PGCBL Western Division, which brings us to our West Division standings. Let's take a look as we enter tonight's ball game. The Batavia Muck Dogs rolling in at 18-9 in first place on a 2-game winning streak, 8 wins in their last 10 ball games. Auburn at 16-9-3 in second place. They've won 1 in a row, 4-4-2 in their last 10. Jamestown has elevated up to third place now, 16-10, a game and a half back of first place Batavia on a 6-game win streak, 8-2 in their last 10 ball games. The Niagara Falls Americans at 17-11, holding that last playoff spot. Only a game and a half separates fourth and first place right now in the PGCBL West Division. Even though Niagara Falls has lost 3, they're still holding on by a thread. 5-5 in their last 10 ball games. Newark in fifth place right now, trailing Niagara Falls by 2.5 games for that last playoff spot. Marcus Smith squads won 2 ball games in a row, 4 wins in their last 10. Your Elmira Pioneers rolling into tonight's ball game at 14-13-1, won 1 in a row, and now 2-7-1 in their last 10 ball games. Geneva at 7-19-1, 10 games games back of first place Batavia, and the Niagara Ironbacks checking in at 4-22. Let's take a quick look at the East Division standings. The Amsterdam Mohawks in first place, to no one's surprise, 18-6-1 across 25 ball games, 6 wins in their last 10, 2 wins in a row. Saugerties in second place at 15-10, 3.5 back of first place Amsterdam. They've won 3 in a row, 6 wins in their last 10 as well. Boonville holding that third place spot in the East Division, 14-10-1 across 25 games, 4 games back of the Mohawks. They've lost 1 in a row, 5 wins in their last 10. Mohawk Valley holding the final playoff spot in the East Division. They'd take on Amsterdam if the regular season were to end today, 13-12-1 through their opening 26 ball games. Exact same record as your Elmira Pioneers, so definitely a stronger division in the PGCBL West Division. They're 5.5 games back of first place Amsterdam on a 2-game losing skid, 4-5-1 in their last 10. Rounding out the 5 through 7, the Utica Blue Sox at 10-11-1 across 22 games, 5 wins in their last 10, 6.5 back of Amsterdam. Glens Falls at 9-14, 8.5 games back of first place, 5-5 in their last 10, and Oneonta checking in at 4-20. We spoke about Coach Drum and the impact that he had for the Pioneers, or the impact that TJ Grimesti has for the Pioneers. And yeah, a .381 batting average across 26 ball games, 84 at-bats, 32 hits, 7 extra base hits, a homer, and 14 RBIs, an OPS of 10-12 on the season for Grimesti. And earlier enough, he was kind enough to catch up in his pregame availability.
I'm pleased to be joined on Pioneers Pregame Live by the newest Elmira Pioneer All-Star in TJ Grimesti. And TJ, first of all, congratulations on the selection. What was going through your head when you found out this morning?
I was actually just hitting in the cage and someone was like, congratulations. I was like, for what? And they were like, oh, you made an All-Star team. I was like, oh, thanks, I mean, it's cool, but I mean, just got to make the playoffs now. We put ourselves in a kind of a crappy situation, but, nothing we can't build our way out of.
I was going to ask, what's the difference mentally between balancing a personal accolade with the overall team objective as we're heading down the home stretch of the regular season?
I mean, I guess nothing matters unless you make the playoffs. Like, how valuable am I to the team if we don't make the playoffs? So now we just find out how well the All-Star selection was. I mean, if we make the playoffs, then it was correct.
How tough is it to continue to stay the course in terms of batting average and all your collective offensive numbers when you're going up against so many new pitchers, even on different teams coming in middle of the summer? What are some of the benefits and challenges of that, and how have you adapted?
I mean, it's nice to watch your average go up and down and stuff like that, but I mean, you get to that point where you start so hot, you go 2 for 5 and your batting average goes down, so you can't really get too wrapped up in it, but it's still nice to help produce for the team.
I was going to ask, what are some of the biggest mental challenges now that you recognize as you enter the home stretch of the season? You have 2 teams to overcome to get back into a playoff spot. What are you experiencing both on an emotional level and on a team-wide level?
I mean, it's nothing we can't do. We're only, I think, 2.5 back out of 4th place right now. Coach Drum talks about, just making the playoffs, and then we can, as long as you make it, you got a chance. So that's all we're trying to do now.
How comfortable is it to go up against a Geneva opponent now, a second straight day? You saw some of their pitchers were able to work deep in counts on Sunday.
I think we got 4 pitchers yesterday out of them, so I mean, they might be running low, so hopefully we get their starter out quick, and then we're in the back half of that bullpen.
How tough or easy is it adjusting to the schedule, especially this weekend? You have 2 more doubleheaders, 3 more on the season.
The off days definitely help. I mean, that you get 6 games a week, and your body's on fire. You're trying to balance everything. So I mean, the off day definitely helps, but we're used to it at this point.
In terms of defensive positions, you're jumping from both right field to back behind the plate. What's that been like? And do you have a personal favorite at this point?
I love catching. I mean, I know that All-Star selection's at outfield, but I think that's just because I've played more games out there. But I do love catching. I grew up catching, but I mean, just kind of being an athlete anywhere they put me. So
how important is it to develop that rapport with the pitchers, especially being behind the plate? And what have you noticed in terms of progression from the pitching staff as we motor along through the regular season?
The pitching has gotten better. We got into that situation where we were walking a lot of guys, hitting a lot of guys. The last few games, we kind of let them beat us. If we're gonna get beat, Coach Drum talks about giving up those hits, not beating ourselves with the walks and stuff. So I think they've gotten a lot better.
You guys were the beneficiary of an outstanding outing from Bobby Boying on Sunday. What were you seeing from him that made him so effective?
I mean, Bobby's the man. He controlled the zone with the heater. Everything was in the zone. I think he only struck out 5 guys, let our defense work. So that was half the problem.
Awesome. Well, TJ, congrats, man, and best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you, Farrell.
So funny in talking with TJ Grimesti there, because he spoke about, hey, well, it's, team first oriented perspective, and that's the mentality that we have to carry in. He said nothing matters unless we made the playoffs too, but I thought it was kind of funny what he threw in because he was hitting so well, and he still is hitting well. I don't want to say that he's not at this point now, but batting 450 plus in 20 ball games, now down to what would be 381 for him, and he said, hey, well, I can go 2 for 5 now, and my batting average will sink, and that's still batting at a 400 pace. Anyway, really humble kid, and great to talk with him and Andy Drum, as always, on our pregame availabilities. But without further ado, let's get to tonight's starting lineups for both the Geneva Red Wings and the Elmira Pioneers. First, starting with the visiting Geneva Red Wings, led by Thomas Eaton, rolling in at 7-19-1, 7th place in the Perfect Game Collegiate League West Division. Zach Banks is a designated hitter. He'll lead things off. Braden Freeman in right field will bat second. Dylan Briggs is the center fielder. He'll bat third. Doing the cleanup tonight is Aiken Santana at first base. Sam Fleming is the extra hitter. He'll bat fifth. Jaden Madrid is the third baseman. He'll bat sixth. Chase Fogg out in left field to bat seventh. Casey Burcroft is the shortstop. He'll bat eighth. Colin Clark doing the catching will bat ninth. And rounding out the batting order is Christian Bermudez at second base. Smitty Washington is the starting pitcher for the Geneva Red Wings. And you take a look over at the Elmira Pioneers starting lineup. Baden Grabowski is the shortstop. He'll lead things off. Ty Martineau, the DH, will bat second. TJ Grimesti in right field will bat third. Brandon Dubek doing the catching. He'll clean up. Michael Palmer at first base will bat fifth. Brett Baker in center field will bat sixth. Carl Wagner is the extra hitter. He'll bat seventh. John Simmons at third base will bat eighth. Vincent Favada in left field following his 2 for 5 3 RBI ball game will bat ninth. Brendan Hammer rounding out the Pios batting order at second base, and making his second start of the season out of the University of Bridgeport in Miller Place, New York, is the southpaw Ty Hodella. That'll do it for this pregame coverage on Pioneers Pregame Live, but be sure to stay right here on the Elmira Pioneers Baseball Network, as in just roughly 10 to 15 minutes we'll have lineups, first pitch, and baseball tonight on this warm Tuesday evening from Dunfield in Elmira, New York. It's the Geneva Red Wings and the Elmira Pioneers. Stick with us.